Good morning. It's Friday, so TGIF to everybody. Hope you're going to have a great day. Anyway, quickly in the news, former FBI Director James Comey continues to be the big news, and even more so after yesterday when it looks like the White House wound up contradicting himself. President Trump gave an interview in which he said that he was going to fire Comey regardless, that he'd become a grandstander and a showboater, and he didn't appreciate that. That seemingly contradicts with the previous messages coming out of the White House that it was Assistant Attorney General Brownstein who had written a memo outlining the case against Comey, and that convinced the president to go and fire him. So we have a couple of different angles, messages coming out of here. This is, should be a concern to anybody who supports the president, wants to make sure that he's a success, because once again, the messages are not clearly lined up, and the media takes no greater pride and pleasure than attacking the president when the president and his own communications team are not saying the same exact thing. So there is something going on there that needs to be rectified. Also, in regard to that too, the acting FBI director testified on Capitol Hill yesterday, and one of the things he said was that, also contradicting President Trump and the White House, was that morale was good, that Comey had pretty widespread support at the FBI, which is not what President Trump has been saying and tweeting, is that and why he was planning a visit to FBI headquarters, but that visit has now been canceled, and it probably has a lot to do with the fact that, according to the acting FBI director, that Comey had a lot more support than the White House was saying that he did, and that maybe the visit was not going to be the best PR effort that they could have after all. The president did sign off on an investigation, basically creating the Voting Fraud and Election Integrity Commission to look into instances and reports of voter fraud. Liberals immediately howled and complained about this and called it a witch hunt. We'll have to wait and see how this turns out in the end. It could very well be that they just cannot find specific instances. But we know that there are some instances out there, and really, one is one too many. And if they could find a way to clean up the system so that if you move to another state and register in another state, you're automatically, scrapped from the file, struck from the MVA or the voting files of the jurisdiction you had previously lived in. But that doesn't happen, so you just have these massive voter rolls that don't get purged for any real reason, except for maybe death from the Social Security Death Index, and otherwise people, you can vote. So that's something that they need to look into a little bit more. We'll see how that goes. Former Representative Corrine Brown, Democrat out of Florida, was found guilty yesterday of 18 counts of tax evasion and fraud, all stemming from her involvement with a foundation that she created to provide young people scholarships to college to help them out. They did basically zero work in that regard, raised $800,000, but it looks like a good portion of the money went to Representative Brown. That's in clear violation of ethics rules and regulations, and we'll see how much of this, how much money they figure that she spent, and how much will have to be paid back in the end. But there were pictures of Hillary and Corrine early on before Corrine lost her seat, in her primary last year. But politicians, easy to corrupt them, and Representative Brown just really didn't take enough precautionary moves and measures to be stuck with all those records in her own car. It's just kind of, or whatever. It was just a big disaster, just to have these things possession. Anyway, and finally, the Boy Scouts of America and the Mormon Church are splitting. The Mormons. The church came out with a statement yesterday that they were going to be leaving the program for the boys that are age 14 and up. Those that are younger will still stay in the program for now. But this is the first big step in a move of separating completely from the Boy Scouts, as they have become more tolerant of LGBTQ youth leaders, etc. And the church finds that to directly contradict the things that they're doing in their own congregations and what they teach. So that will be a big change. Those that need to finish up their programs with the Boy Scouts still have plenty of time to do so. But it now gives you kind of an immediate deadline as to when you want to get a lot of these things done and how you want to beef up your programs. So it'll be an interesting time. We'll see how this goes. I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg, that there'll be other churches will not only follow suit, but they may expand it to include some of the younger kids, which the Mormon church will probably also be looking into, but they're taking it on a step-by-step basis and measure at this point. So that's about it. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend, and then we'll see you on Monday.